I think they can improve off last year. God, help them. They better. Can they win 3 games? Let us know, chat.
Welcome in, Sports Bluff fans. This is your favorite show of the week. My name is Ryan Lambert. I'm alongside my co-host Tristan Bunn. This episode is going to be fun. We're going to wrap up our over-under win total predictions this week, talking about the NFC North, the NFC South. We're going to talk Lions, Packers, Bears, and oh my, the Vikings as well. Along with the NFC South, probably a less talked about division by some, but it's still intriguing because one of these teams are still going to make the playoffs, whether you like it or not. But definitely less powerhouses in that division, I would say. Tristan, how are you tonight?
I am doing excellent, my friend. We are getting closer. We're officially at the home stretch that we're wrapping it up here, doing the NFC North and South. Next week, we'll do our official Super Bowl predictions, our playoff bracket, and look ahead to week 1. I'm just really excited for the season. I'm glad football's back. We're recording this Saturday night. There was a college football game today. Football was on.
Look, in lieu of college football kicking off this weekend, I am wearing the Alabama logo pridefully here.
Roll Tide.
Let's see what DeBoer can do. Let's see if he gets as many people in the NFL that Saban did. I think he'll do great. I really do.
That would be nice.
It would be fantastic. But nonetheless, let's get on with the NFC North. The Detroit Lions open up at 10.5. They went 12-5 last year. They've had a fun offseason. Dan Campbell has this team ready to go. It's no mystery that I think that this team wins the division. I'll go ahead and play my cards here. I have them going over. I think they win the division pretty easily. I do think there's one team in this division that's going to give them a run for their money, especially down the second half of the stretch. But I think the Lions have what it takes to win this division, make it to the playoffs, and get the 1 seed here. Where do you have them?
So you're saying over 10.5?
Over 10.5.
I'm with you. I'm also going over. I know a lot of people have this team as I think a lot of people probably have the Lions as a Super Bowl favorite. First off, let's just take a time out. Me and you were born in 95. It is so weird to have the Lions be good because they are one of those few franchises, like a lot of NFL franchises, have their peaks and valleys. That's just what happens. The Lions have sucked my entire life. Seriously.
I know you said we were born in 95, but you got to remember they haven't been good since the 70s. So they've sucked for a lot of people for their entire lives.
Right. It's not like they've ever been a powerhouse and are trying to go back to the days of old. They've just kind of always been a laughingstock. Obviously, they've had their moments and they're great players, but it's so cool to see them be this good. Me and you were believers of Dan Campbell once he came in because it was clear right away he was building a culture. Even if the first press conference was kind of funny, but he backed it up. This is a tough physical football team, and Jared Goff has reinvented his career. They're such a fun team to watch. I agree with you. I'm going over. I don't know yet. We're not locking in where we think they're going or playoffs or anything till next week. I don't know if they can match or surpass the success they had last year, just because it's really difficult to. It's really difficult, but they are one of the best rosters in the NFC. And to me, the number one issue for the Lions was the secondary. That was really where they fell apart. The rest of the team was excellent. Their secondary was, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say, one of the worst in the league. They were terrible. So they've got a lot of upgrades. They've upgraded their strong safety position, and they've upgraded 2 of their corner positions. They brought in Carlton Davis, and they brought in Amik Robertson. That alone should, I think, elevate them. So if your secondary gets elevated and the rest of the team just stays at the level it was playing at, they should be competing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're right. Their offense finished second overall, according to PFF. Their defense finished 19th. So this defense does have to step up. They do have to step up this year, especially when you have teams in this division that are going to be gunning for you the entire year. And they've also improved at several different areas. This division is not what it was last year. It's much tougher this year, for sure.
Probably the toughest division in football, in my opinion.
Yep. The most competitive.
It's looking that way.
The most competitive for 100% guaranteed. But you're right, though. The cornerback position was where they needed help. I love that they drafted Terrion Arnold, with one of their first draft picks. So I think that's going to be a big help as well. This offense, though, it's going to continue to shine. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to eat this year. We've done probably, 5 mock drafts in the past couple of weeks getting ready for fantasy football season, and Amon-Ra's gone, within the first 7 picks, every single one we've done.
I'm picking 4th and I'm strongly considering him.
Right.
Because he's so consistent and reliable.
Yes, he's going to be a target monster for sure. What do you think about the running back room?
I think the running back room is excellent. I think it should be better. I think another year with Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's going to be more involved, really. Not that he wasn't involved last year. I just think it's going to elevate him even more. I don't know if Montgomery has the same stats as he did last year. I think Gibbs probably pulls some of that. Exactly.
He's going to eat into that percentage. Yeah, it's going to be a split backfield for sure. Even more so, probably lopsided to Gibbs, I would imagine, this year.
Yeah, for 100%.
Another year under your belt. The guy's fresh legs. He's still young, really young, and coming off of a really good rookie season last year, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Coming off his rookie season. And I think it's hopeful. We don't know. Like, Jameson Williams was awesome at Alabama. He has had, the injury, then he had the suspension. So last year was his first real opportunity. Didn't really get going. If Jameson Williams could be a real threat for Detroit and be that burner, that deep shot, because Amon-Ra is more of a slot player, they could be really dangerous. They could really elevate offensively. I don't know if I expect that, but I do expect him to get, more workload. Let's just hope he can stay healthy, stay on the field. I have a question for you about the team.
Let's go.
We obviously both think they're going to be very good. We think they are Super Bowl contenders. What is the scenario for the Lions? So that's, best case scenario is NFC Championship, or actually, best case scenario is a Super Bowl win. That's how good this team is. This team is good enough. Brad Holmes, excellent job as a GM. They continue to draft well. They're going to be rookies this year that perform. Sam Laporta last year had the best rookie season of any tight end ever. So we know best case scenario is a Super Bowl victory. What do you think is worst case scenario for the Detroit Lions? Like, what goes wrong and where does it lead them? Where could this hopeful season go awry?
It's really hard to kind of pinpoint that, right? Like, I would have to say it lies on the defensive side of the ball. I believe that this offense, barring injury, I don't want to throw injuries into this because it skews
of course.
Everything. So
you could say that for every team.
Absolutely, right? So one big guy on any team will dramatically change your season. So I think it's the defensive side of the ball. If they don't improve from 19th overall defense last year, this year, they are going to continue to fall into that same trap of being just a step behind all the other teams. Because, you look at the Bears, their problem last year was the offense, right? Well, seemingly so, they've improved that offense. Their defense is still really good. So you're competing with a lot of good defenses, even within your division, but all across the NFL and NFC for that matter. So I think that if you don't improve that cornerback room, if those guys don't step up, Robertson and others, you're going to have a rough season. And these other quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, you're going to have these guys that you're going to have to defend against, these deep ball passers, these dynamic passers. And if you don't do that, they're going to score points on you. That's kind of the outcome of that, right? So if you don't fix that, you have a really rough season ahead. That's me. What about you?
I agree. You could say, obviously, if the offense takes a step back, I don't expect it to. Maybe a small one, but it shouldn't be much. I expect them to anything. Honestly, I maybe expect them to be better. 2 scenarios. If Jared Goff somehow regresses, I don't expect that. I think we know who Goff is at this point. He has a lot of indoor games. He plays in the NFC, plays in the Dome. I think he's going to be fine. I agree with you. The worst case scenario for this team is you've brought in all these positions. They've addressed it in the offseason. They did what a good, franchise should do. They addressed their biggest weakness and they hopefully fixed it. But if those guys that you're bringing into the secondary don't elevate that level of play, and not just elevate it a little, elevate it significantly. Like, they need to be a top half pass defense to really be a Super Bowl contender. If that doesn't happen, I think the season might be a little bit of a letdown, but hopefully it does. I think it does, and I'm sticking with the over.
They have to be top 12 or better, and you cannot tell me that Dan Campbell does not have this team ready to go day one to be in that top 12 category on defense and finish in the top 5 in offense again. You would be, I personally, I put words in your mouth, but I would be shocked if we don't see this offense finish top 5, and I would be even more shocked if Dan Campbell drops the ball and has this defense finishing outside the top 12 again. The Green Bay Packers open up at 9.5 after having an awesome season last year. Even though they went 9-8, I still think it was better than what anybody predicted. We didn't know how Jordan Love would kind of play out as the full-time starter, and it seems like they've struck gold 3 times in a row. Jordan Love finished 4,159 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions with a 64.2% completion rate. That's pretty good. Do you think that he plays better than that this year? Do you think the team is going to rely on him, Josh Jacobs in the backfield now, and all these other weapons on offense more so than the defense? Or do you think that Jordan Love is going to regress a little bit and get off that stellar rookie year? What do you think?
That's the question. That's the concern about the Packers. It's not because you said like stellar rookie year. It was, but it was a stellar half of a rookie year. The first half of last year was not good for Jordan Love. The numbers weren't bad, but watching it, it wasn't great. The second half of last year, it clicked. It totally clicked. Yep. He came into his own. As I've said on this podcast, they were really close to beating San Francisco in that game to go to the NFC Championship game. I mean, Green Bay was a legit contender. They're the youngest team in the league. They were last year. They're still the youngest team in the league. They're kind of defying all odds. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks have good 8-10 game stretches. That separates good quarterbacks from great. To be a great quarterback, you have to have multiple good seasons. I believe in Jordan Love. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to impress us because it's just the natural ability he has. It wasn't just like, and I'm not taking a shot, but it wasn't like watching Jared Goff be good. I mean, it was watching special traits. You know what I mean? Jared Goff, he's precise, he's accurate, he's on time, he steps up in the pocket, he delivers, he's reading the deep. Jordan Love has special traits, and he has what every quarterback I think nowadays needs is not necessarily the ability to run, but the ability to make plays off schedule. Can you make something happen when the play that was called breaks down? When the play breaks down and you can't go where you plan, can you turn it into something? At the second half of last year, he showed he could. I think he will continue to do that, but that is a question because we've seen quarterbacks have stretches of good play. Can he continue it now that everyone's got film on him? Now that other teams are going to be gunning for him, they're going to try to take away what he does good and exploit his weaknesses. How will he adjust to that? I think he'll be fine because he's got a good coach. He's got a good offense. The bigger question for me for the Packers is the defense. The defense was atrocious last year. It was the thing that kept them from really elevating to a true Super Bowl contender. They brought in a new defensive coordinator. Thank God. They brought in some new positions.
Head coach from Boston College.
Right.
Jeff Hafley.
College running everybody away with the whole NIL and transfer portal. Also, I don't want to say an under-mentioned signing, but we're kind of not talking enough about them adding Xavier McKinney at safety. That's huge. They also replaced Darnell Savage. I think they're going to be good. I don't know how good the defense will be. I'm not saying it's going to be a top 10, 12 defense, but I just can't imagine it being any worse. So as long as the defense elevates, this should be a good squad. I'm going with the over. Maybe not by much, but I think they win 10 games for sure.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to go over as well. I think they win. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they win 11 games. But what kind of holds me back from saying like they got 11 wins in the bag for sure is just the schedule, man. It's like the fourth toughest in the NFL. They have some pretty scary teams to play this year. I mean, they open up at the Eagles. Then they play the Colts, the Titans, the Vikings, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Lions. Then you have a Week 10 bye. You come back to face the Bears, a divisional opponent. Then you have the 49ers. Oh, those guys are pretty tough to face. Then you have the Dolphins with a really good offense, the Lions, the Seahawks. Who knows what they will be, but I think they'll be a little bit better than they were last year. Then you got the Saints, the Vikings, and then you finish out the year again with the Bears. So it's a pretty tough schedule for Jordan Love. I mean, we're going to really see what Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love can do as a duo together this year. We saw it the second half last year, how much they improved just, through half the season. We have the whole offseason now. We have a lot more players added to this roster to beef it up a little bit. We have a better running back situation than you did last year as well with Josh Jacobs. I still think he has gas in the tank.
Do we, though? I believe you do, You think Josh Jacobs is better than Aaron Jones? Because yes. Aaron Jones was fantastic last year and has been. I know he's had issues, he's had health injuries, but it's not like Josh Jacobs lit him up last year. I know you're high on this signing. I know you really like it. I like Josh Jacobs too, But I think there's a very plausible scenario where Josh Jacobs ends up being a step back from Aaron Jones.
I personally don't believe that. I think Josh Jacobs is one of those signings that happened that I think I told you a couple of weeks ago. I forgot it happened. Like, it was just, I don't know how, but it just slipped my mind. And when I started thinking about it, I think this is kind of, I don't know if you would call it a sleeper pick or a sleeper signing, but I think Josh Jacobs in this offense is going to excel. He's 1 year removed from having the best season he's ever had in the NFL. So I think that coming into Matt LaFleur's offense, they're going to rely on that running game a good bit this year to take some of the pressure off Jordan Love, and I think there's nobody better to do it than Josh Jacobs. I mean, you can't have Christian McCaffrey on every team, right?
Fair point. Do you think, last question, do you think there's a chance they can win this division? Because I do. I might even pick them to win. I haven't decided.
Mentioned in the show opener, I think there's one team that's going to give the Lions a run for their money, especially down that second stretch of the schedule, because the second stretch after they played the Lions, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, the Bears, they could easily win out there and put themselves above the Lions there, especially if they took the Lions out before they started that run. So I think the Packers have the best chance in this division to give Detroit a run for their money, and I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see it play out down to the wire. I really do. Like, I think this is going to be one of those, like, week 14, we're looking up and we're watching the NFC North and we're watching Detroit and we're watching Green Bay and we're seeing how they play out the rest of the season to get that 1 seed.
I completely agree. I might be completely off base here. I think both of these teams can win the Super Bowl.
The Chicago Bears open up at 8.5. They went 7-10 last year, actually. A little bit better than I remembered them doing. I guess maybe it was just on field. They looked worse than 7-10 at some points, but
got better toward the end of the year. Defense came together.
Well, speaking of where it got better, it got a lot better this offseason. They have completely revamped this team.
Yeah.
You got Caleb Williams now, which is a stud. I mean, if you've watched some of this preseason, him and I think is going to be one of the best guys out of the draft, Rome Odunze, their chemistry that they have on field has been pretty stellar. Caleb Williams missed some throws that, you may think that he shouldn't have missed, but the big-time plays that he made, those are things that you really can't coach. When he rolled out and hit Odunze down the line, like, that's just one of those plays that you really can't coach that. That's just intuition. That's quarterback. Like, that's just the feel of the quarterback. You're born with that, I think, because I know so much about quarterbacking.
Yeah.
This is just my opinion. But honestly, with this receiver room, with Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, they signed Keenan Allen from the Chargers, which, people give him a lot of grief because he's a little bit older. So,
but Keenan Allen is an upgrade over Darnell Mooney.
100%.
That's no question.
100%. Just so without Darnell Mooney, just Moore, Allen, and Odunze, like, that is a killer roster.
That is
wide
an
receiver
upgrade.
Room.
That is an absolute upgrade.
You got DeAndre Swift now. So
also an upgrade over Deontay Foreman.
Very much so.
Quarterback, upgrade.
Yeah. So tell me where this team hasn't upgraded where you wouldn't feel confident in pushing them over the 8.5.
I don't think there's any position where they haven't upgraded. I obviously like the offense.
You're going to say the same thing as me. I know you are. I know how you're prefacing this, and I know what you're going to say.
You hear me winding it up? I don't know if I'm going to say the same thing as you. Also, I really like Cole Kmet. I think he's one of the most, maybe underrated strong, but I think he's an underrated tight end. Really like him. The line's good, still good. Defense still good. Montez Sweat, awesome. They brought in a lot of players. They brought in Kevin Byard to replace Eddie Jackson. I actually think that's an upgrade. Jalen Johnson, kind of one of the better corners in the league. And the defense played excellent at the end of last year. Eberflus, defensive coach, were like, hey, what are you doing? Well, he finally proved it. He got that defense together. They were playing great. Also love the Eberflus makeover, by the way. He completely reinvented his look, and it's like now, oh, okay, you look like a cool dude, a good coach, so we'll see. We've talked about the question being Eberflus. I feel like everyone's so high on the Bears. 8.5. To go over would be 9 wins. 9 wins for a rookie quarterback with a defensive head coach, that's a lot. It's tough, man. I know how good Caleb Williams is. I know how talented Rome Odunze is. I understand all this. But just somewhere in my gut, I feel like 9 wins is tough to ask for a rookie. There's going to be growing pains. I've got to take the under. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to win 7, 8 games, and it's going to be promising next year. But I got to be a little realistic about this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Unfortunately, I love when we actually, differ on some of these, but here's the problem, okay? This is what I'm going to say. You kind of said the same thing without saying it. This team has upgraded at pretty much every position that you can. They've done everything right by the book. However, the rest of this division has also upgraded in every position by the book that they're supposed to do. So you're just in the right spot at the wrong time is really what it boils down to. You have the Bears that I think if the Lions wasn't on this streak that they're on right now, if the Packers didn't strike gold with Jordan Love, the Bears easily take this division, no questions asked. But they have a pretty tough schedule coming up.
So let's take a look at the schedule real quick before you continue your tangent. So week 1, the Titans, then you go to Houston, you go to Indianapolis, you get the Rams, you got Carolina, you got Jacksonville before your bye, the Commanders with another talented rookie quarterback at Arizona, New England. So a little decent, easy stretch there. But then you've got Green Bay, division opponent the Vikings, division opponent Detroit, San Francisco, Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle, Green Bay. There's not a lot of easy W's there. It's going to be a bit of a up and down season because you've got a bunch of young players, and it's the NFL. I think Caleb Williams is going to be great, but I think there's going to be some growing pains.
Yeah, so this is, you and I were talking before the show about the strength of schedule, and this is kind of where it skews a little bit because right now they have Chicago ranked 29th, which is toward the bottom, which means one of the easiest schedules out there. But like you said, they do base this on last team's winnings totals, right?
The other team's winning percentage based off last season, yes.
Right. And so I think what that doesn't account for, you can look at the strength of schedule and say what you want about it, but what that doesn't account for is the rookie quarterback, and then also all these other teams are so much better. They're so much better than they were last year, at least on paper. We don't know for sure that they're going to be, but I have more confidence in the Packers and the Lions being good than I do the Bears. I have them finishing third in this division. I know we'll go through that at the end, but I have them finishing third. I do have them going under here because you have to put some team under in this division. This is the one I chose to do. So that's kind of where I have them. I think this team's going to be improved. I think they'll hit 8 wins easily this season, but I don't think that they're going to go to 9. It's kind of a stretch to see that. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Caleb Williams comes out and plays like C.J. Stroud. I hope he does, but
it's possible, but C.J. Stroud literally had the best rookie season of any quarterback in NFL history.
Yes.
But nowadays, we have the whole recency bias thing. So if we see something, we're like, well, hey, could it happen again? It's like, well, it happened for the first time in 50 years, so probably not.
What ruined us is seeing Tom Brady and now seeing Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
We just think that it just happens all the time. It doesn't.
It does not. And I think I'm with you. I'm really, really high on Caleb Williams. I love him. I think he's a generational talent. I think he's going to be a star.
Franchise guy for sure.
Yeah. By the way, glad we're finally getting some of these really talented quarterbacks in the NFC. Thank God, because the NFC needs quarterbacks so bad. But regardless of what's going on, there's going to be ups and downs. And as you said, the other teams got better. I'm also still unsure of Matt Eberflus. I know we got Caleb Williams and we're all just supposed to be like, yeah, it's fine.
Do you have any comments we're going to get on this?
Hold on. I like Matt Eberflus, probably 3, 4, realistically.
On a good day.
Yeah, that'd be a good day. I think Matt Eberflus, I like him. I think he is a really good defensive coach. I worry about his ability to relate to and bring out the most of a rookie quarterback. Obviously, if the OC is able to do that, no problem, but that's just something to keep an eye on. I feel like everyone's kind of already anointing Chicago. Let's see if the coach is good. Let's see the quarterback get through his rookie struggles. I think they're going to put themselves in a position to be really good next year. I do think they're going to be competing for that last playoff spot up until the very end of the season, and they're just going to miss out and have to come back next year under, but still a good team.
I'm sorry, Bears fans. We think you're still going to have a good team. I think you and I both have been critiqued more by Bears fans throughout this entire YouTube run than anybody else. So just want to go ahead and say, if you watch the end of this video, we are apologizing. You're still going to have a good team, but you're still going to finish under 8.5.
Also, Ryan Poles is one of the best GMs in the league. He's doing his job. We'll see how much it comes together.
The Minnesota Vikings open up at 6.5 this season. They finished 7-10 last year. Man, the Vikings, they just have this cloud of bad luck around them all the time. I feel
that's the Vikings.
All the time.
Something always goes wrong.
every time. In the biggest moments, too. It's never just like small little things.
Vikings fans will tell you this has been happening for 40, 50 years. Like it's kind of a thing. Like, you know how we talk about the Jets? That's kind of the Vikings, but a little bit smaller.
I take that back. This time it was a small little thing called a right meniscus. But other than that, it's usually big things that go wrong. J.J. McCarthy, man, like he's out for the season. Whether you thought he was going to start or not, I thought he was going to at least play this season for the majority of the year.
He was not going to start. And despite them saying it's Darnold, I think McCarthy would have took over at some point. I was actually really high on McCarthy. I think this stings really bad.
Oh, yeah. You talking about losing like your starting quarterback? Yeah.
They say it's not. They were going with Darnold, but I think I would have rather seen McCarthy.
Mono man? They're going to go with Mono man. Okay.
Man.
Whatever. Yeah, so they go with him for the first 3 games. They were going to switch to McCarthy at some point. That'd be stupid not to. But then again, it's the Vikings. Who knows? They also added my boy Dallas Turner from Alabama. I think that's going to be a big improvement.
Great pick.
To this team. So I have them. I had them going. My notes right here in front of me say over. But the more I think about it, the more I look at the rest of this division, and I have the Bears going under. What right do I have saying that the Vikings are going to go over here? Like,
over 7 wins. Do you think they matched last year?
Well, they had Kirk Cousins last year, and
but he got hurt. They only had him for a quarter, half the season.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So, but Sam Darnold, I have no trust in him. I'm changing my answer. You know what? Let me just mark this out real quick. I'm going under. It's my second team in the NFC North that I have going under. I don't think they win 7 games, man. How do they do it is the better question, I think.
I kind of sad you changed it because now we agree on every team in this division.
Well, but we know football so well.
Oh, I mean, we are geniuses. So I agree, under. Kevin O'Connell's one of my favorite coaches. I love him.
Yeah.
I think he is a fantastic offensive wizard. I think he's a great head coach. I know Justin Jefferson's probably going to get his numbers. I understand that. I've just got to call timeout on everybody that talks sports right now. Have you seen the amount of people in sports media that are genuinely trying to convince themselves that Sam Darnold's going to be decent? Have you seen it?
No, because every time I start to see it, I turn the TV off.
But I've seen a lot of people like, hey, Sam Darnold might be okay. It's like, oh, he went to the 49ers last year. Shanahan liked him. I'm like, okay. And the little bit we saw him at San Francisco last year didn't look good. I don't know why people are trying to trick themselves. You think Sam Darnold's magically going to flip a switch? I know maybe he hasn't gotten a really fair opportunity. The Carolina thing wasn't fair. Obviously, in New York, when Adam Gase wasn't fair. All right, but I think the ship has sailed. You don't see people do a Geno Smith, magically turn their career around. Do you think Deshaun Watson's going to flip a switch and be good? Apparently Cleveland fans do, but they're fucking delusional, okay? I'm sorry. They're just lost. There is no chance, man. Best case scenario, Sam Darnold is a slightly below average quarterback. That's best case scenario. I think this is going to end up being a long season for Minnesota, and it sucks because I actually like the Vikings. I like the head coach. They've got a lot of players. I love that they brought in Aaron Jones. But on a lot of other positions, not fantastic. I'm not excited about the defense, even though you bring in Dallas Turner. At the end of the day, I feel like the ship sinks or sails with Sam Darnold, and I'm saying it's sinking.
I think his numbers are going to be inflated a little bit just because he does have he has really talented wide receivers around him. Addison and Jefferson are two of that's a really great duo to have when you're a below average quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold, looking at his stats, again, he's never had a great situation. Understand. I know a lot of quarterbacks haven't. Sadly, your success in the league is kind of dependent on your situation. He came into the league in 2018. So this is going to be his 7th year in the NFL.
Wow, has it been that long?
I know, it's crazy. Magically, your 7th year in the NFL, you're going to be an above-average starter. Guys,
tell me who's that happened to.
Right, Geno Smith is the only one I can even think of, okay?
Yeah.
That's it. I don't see a scenario. Look, his career completion percentage is 59.7. The best completion percentage of his career was his 2nd year with the Jets, where it was 61.9.
And when I say all this, don't think I'm trying to talk Sam Darnold up, okay? I'm just telling you what the future storylines are going to be. Hey, we were right. We were right. Did you see what Sam Darnold did? He threw the ball to Justin Jefferson 88 times, and Jefferson caught them 87 times. Well, yeah, because you're throwing to like glue. Like you're throwing to some of the best hands in the NFL. So that's why I say Darnold's numbers are going to be inflated, but I do not think that he is going to be this star quarterback, like you said, after 7 years, which I didn't even know it was been 7 years. My gosh, I'm very surprised about that. I was thinking 4 for some reason, but I don't think he's just going to turn this new leaf and just all of a sudden be unlocked with even this star talent around him. He's going to do okay just from the circumstances he finds himself in.
I completely agree. I think you're right. And it might even start off with people being like, hey, I told you, look at Sam Darnold. And I'll say, okay,
I'm telling you it's going to happen.
Yeah, get back to me after 17 games. Because I'm not saying he's not going to, he might be able to look good for 5-6 games. He's not going to be able to look like a legit NFL starter for 17 games. It's not happening. It is not happening.
You mean to tell me that Sam Darnold is going to come in and break the Vikings curse? That's who's going to turn the Vikings organization around to Sam Darnold?
Well, I think being devil's advocate, he doesn't have to turn the Vikings organization around. For this segment, he just has to get them to 7 wins.
Sure. But I'm talking overall big picture here. It's like, because people are talking him up, like you said, like he's some kind of, second
Savior.
coming. Like, no, he's a below average quarterback. He is a guy that is going to have, better numbers than what his talent is.
Right.
Just because of the weapons around him. And he doesn't get this team over 7 wins. So
I agree. And even if you put him aside, there's a lot of holes elsewhere on this team. Like this,
yes.
This is a team that needs a lot of pieces. They need another offseason or 2. So I think you just got to try to survive the season, get to next year with J.J. McCarthy and see what he can do. I wouldn't be shocked because I think Kevin O'Connell is an excellent coach. I wouldn't be shocked if they won 7 games. That is possible. I think that is the absolute ceiling. If Sam Darnold is the quarterback and they win 8 games, I will gladly come on here and say, holy crap, I was wrong. I just don't think you can overcome him. No one's been able to do it. It's not going to magically change now.
All right, Tristan, that's the NFC North. Let's recap real quick. The Lions open up at 10.5. We both have them going over. I have them winning the division.
I actually have Green Bay winning the division over the Lions right now. I might change it next week, but...
I got you. I'm glad we have something different in this segment. The Green Bay Packers open up at 9.5. We both have them going over as well. You have them winning the division, as you just said. The Bears, 8.5. We have them both of us have it going under. Just don't think they have what it takes right now with Caleb Williams. And then the Vikings open up at 6.5. We had them going under as well. I had them going over. I changed my mind this segment after I look at the overall division and how tough their schedule is going to be, especially without who we think was going to start at some point, J.J. McCarthy. That's the NFC North. Let's move on to the South. Tampa Bay opens at 7.5 after going 9-8 last season. Ooh, this team. Baker Mayfield. Say what you want to about him. He's a pretty decent quarterback. He can take you there. He can take you a little bit further than there, and you can be happy with him. However, the weapons around him, Mike Evans, he's getting a little bit older, but still some of the best hands in the league. Chris Godwin, we just talked about this before the segment. Liam Cohen is the new offensive coordinator from Kentucky, correct?
That's right.
Got that right. Can't believe I remember that after 30 seconds. But anyway, he is supposedly, rumor has it, going to be moving Godwin back to the slot where Godwin actually shines and becomes like one of those fantasy players that you want on your team, rather than last year when he was playing the outside and that's just not where he's just not a good player there.
Right.
And this is what worries me about Tampa Bay.
Tell me.
Their secondary.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, last year it was not terrific, and they brought in, I think, Jordan Whitehead this year.
They did bring it, which is an upgrade over Ryan Neal.
It is. So I'm just
other side,
concerned.
Antoine Winfield, best safety in the league, an absolute dog.
I'm just concerned that I don't know how it's going to pan out. I hope it does for him. I hope it works out great. But I do want to point you to one small little thing here.
Well,
this schedule,
let's wait till we get off the air for that.
This schedule, specifically, let's look at weeks 4 through 10.
Okay.
Starting at week 4, you have the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Then you play the Falcons, a divisional opponent.
Correct.
Then you play the Saints, a divisional opponent. Then you play the Ravens, a scary team. Then you play the Falcons again. Then you play the Chiefs. Then you play the 49ers.
Holy crap. And before that, you got Broncos Lions.
Right.
Dude.
Yeah. So it's a scary, scary stretch. Enough for me to say under here because I think 7 wins is maybe their max. And I would be willing to bet that their season relies on weeks 4 through 10 having that they have to find 2 wins there if they want to have a chance in this division, right? Like, wouldn't you say?
I think they got to win 3 or 4 of those games.
Yeah, I guess.
That's 7 games.
I'm just looking, but okay, we're going to talk about the rest of the teams in this division, but I just think that they have to win at least 2.
Well, that ain't going to get them over, buddy. That ain't going to get them over.
It may get them over, but it may get them second place in the division.
Might be, but that's not going to get them a playoff spot. So I have always been a Baker fan. I've always said, you can back me up here. I think we've probably got it on audio on this podcast. When Cleveland ran him out of town, I said, I don't know why. He is a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's what I kept saying when he didn't have a job. I was like, you're not going to convince me he's not one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league. Like, what are we doing? I know he's not elite. He's around that 15 range. Baker excels on kind of playing a little reckless and throwing the ball deep. But you can only allow him to do that when you can really set up and develop a run game. Ryan, this team has no running backs. It has no running game. The run game was non-existent last year, and they said, yeah, we'll do that again. They were frisky last year, but they only made the playoffs because this is such a bad division. I'm not confident in Rachaad White. I'm not super confident in the offensive line. Like, it should be a little better, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to run the football successfully enough to give Baker those opportunities to take the deep shots, to go over the top of the defense. I hope so. I don't know what to think about Liam Cohen. He wasn't a great offensive coordinator that year with the Rams. I know they had a lot of other issues. Kentucky was, okay. It's not like I'm not going to pretend I sat here and grinded Kentucky film, but I did watch a couple of their games. I'm with you. I have questions on the defense. Tampa Bay made an interesting decision. They kind of made the same decision they did after they won the Super Bowl. They say, we're bringing the gang back together. You can get away with that when you win the Super Bowl, but like when you go 9-8 and, make the playoffs and beat the Eagles and then get bounced and be like, we're doing it again. Like, all right, but maybe we could have done something else. I like Baker Mayfield. I just have to go under because I feel like last year was, I don't want to use the word fluke, but a little bit of a fluke. Looking at that schedule, I don't think it's happening. I think the run game is going to be non-existent. The defense last year could not get pressure on opposing quarterbacks unless they blitzed. If they blitzed, they could. Great, that's kind of the point of a blitz. They couldn't get pressure without it. I think there's a lot of holes in this team. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I kind of hope they do because I like Baker. But right now, I've got to lean the under because I see a regression coming.
Yeah, I'm not so down on White like you are. I think he is going to be he may take a small step forward this year compared to last year, but look, last season they finished 21st overall offense, 24th overall defense. I don't know what they've done this offseason to make me think they'll do any better than that. And with them finishing 9-8 last year, I think that was Dave Canales written all over it. Like it was just he had his offense just screaming. And there's too many questions to be answered, especially on the offensive side of the ball, really in the offensive coordinator position that I just don't know about. We have a small sample size from the Rams in 2022. That doesn't look great. If you want to say college went better for him, that's fantastic. But there's too many question marks all over. You got the age coming in at the wide receivers. You got the offensive coordinator. You got Baker Mayfield who got paid, and let's see how he plays after he got paid. I don't know. There's not much improvement throughout this offseason to make me think that they're going to be better than 7.5 wins. I love what you said, getting the gang back together. That's what they're doing, man. They're calling all their old buddies and saying, "Hey, let's come do this again." And I just don't think with the talent at this next team we'll talk about in Atlanta that they have what it takes to win this division.
I kind of agree with you. I think they're going to be a painfully average team. Wouldn't be shocked if they won the division because I kind of think the division stinks like it always does, but I'm not gonna bet on it. No way I could bet the over. No way.
The Atlanta Falcons open up at 9.5. 9.5. That's big compared to what they did last year, 7-10.
It's hope.
I'm going to go ahead and kick it to you on Atlanta here, and I want to. I've talked about all the other teams first. I figured, why not give you a shot?
Ryan, everyone is riding the Atlanta train. Choo-choo, it's time. We're finally rolling. We're from Alabama. I have a lot
Which is why Tristan talks like that.
That's true. I have a lot of friends, relatives that are Atlanta fans. I know a lot of Atlanta fans, and I have my whole life. They live a life of despair. They live a life of misery. Ryan, I couldn't tell you the amount of times that in the offseason it's been like, hey, Atlanta might be good this year. And they always disappoint. This
happened a lot.
This is what the Falcons do. And again, I don't have any connection to the Falcons or anything, but they always disappoint. Every single year, they disappoint. They find a way. Trust me, they're one of those teams that even when literally no one else has expectations for them, because it's not like they get covered a ton in the media in the past, but just from being so close to them, I live basically an hour and a half away. When the people down here have so much expectations, they always trick themselves into a false sense of security and a false sense of hope, and the Falcons blow it. First year coach at Atlanta, Raheem Morris. I don't know. I think he'll be all right, but we talked about the Patriots and we said, I can't
Better than
really.
Arthur Smith.
Yeah, it can't be any worse than Arthur Smith. I actually really like Raheem Morris. I think he will.
I really like Zach Robinson.
I think he will improve this team, but I don't know. I don't know what kind of coach he's going to be. The big thing for me, though, is we're supposed to immediately believe that this team's going to be a 10-win team and a legit playoff threat because they brought in Kirk Cousins. Hey, I like Kirk Cousins more than the average guy. He is a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles. I don't know why we're all just overlooking that. Well, and then if you want to be an absolute optimist and say, well, even if he gets hurt, we bring in Michael Penix. Okay, and that honestly, you probably should have done that anyway, but then you got the whole controversy, the whole quarterback situation. Mark my words, regardless of what happens, that's going to hang over this organization the entire season. That quarterback controversy, it's going to be a storyline every week. The first time Kirk Cousins sucks, the media is going to ramp up. It's going to be a thing. Is he going to get in his head? Michael Penix is going to start. If you start him, you can't take him back. What if you start him and he gets hurt? There is just so many things. The roster is better. Obviously, you brought in Kirk Cousins. He's better than Heineke or Desmond Ridder. I understand that. No way, dude. Under. Sell the farm. Take the under. It's too much hype. I promise you, it's too much hype. And when you put a hype on Atlanta, they will put you in your grave.
I know we've heard it a lot, and nobody is forcing you to take the over here, but
it feels like it.
I am willingly going to take the over, and I'll tell you why. He's also being guarded by the third offensive line unit in the league. You got Jake Matthews at right tackle. You got Chris Lindstrom, Pro Bowler. You got all these guys up front that are going to be giving him enough protection, and then when he needs to run the ball, which they will run the ball a ton. You have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier to just ram the ball downfield. Bijan Robinson is going to do much better than he did even last season. He was still pretty good last season. So you have that. And then on top of that, you have Arthur Smith out of the building. So that automatically gives you another win or two, in my opinion. I'll let your opinion stick where it is because this is what we're doing. I have them going over. I think they'll win easy 10 games, maybe 11. And I think they'll win this division, I would say by a long shot just based off of, how close Tampa Bay may come to them. But
they might win the division.
Tampa Bay could fall to 3, by the way, in this division. The Saints could outplay the Bucs, just depending on how everything goes there. But Atlanta, I have them going at least 10 wins, maybe 11. I am high on the Falcons, and I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm so happy that you're complete opposite from me. We finally have a difference in 6 teams we've talked about now. I think that the Falcons are going to go over, and I'm so excited that we're going to get to watch this play out throughout the season, and you and I are going to be just butting heads all season long about the Falcons.
I don't care if they start 9-0 and you're over there like celebrating. I will be smiling because I know what Atlanta does. They will find a way to disappoint everyone that believes in them. I promise it.
The Carolina Panthers open up at 5.5 after an abysmal 2-15 season last year. Unfortunately, we're not picking the over and under at what they finished with last year, 2-15. I would pick them to go over there. However, right now I'm picking them to go under. I don't think they find more than 3 wins this year. I know Dave Canales from Tampa Bay is coming in here, and he's going to run this show, but what a show to run. Like, I don't know any coach that is happy to walk into the Carolina Panthers locker room and say, hey, guys, I've got full confidence we can go and do it this year. They're not. There's no possibility that this team wins over 5 games, right? I mean, surely not.
I wouldn't say there's no possibility, but I mean, it's minute.
You're right. A boulder could come through the rest of the NFC South and kill every other person in the entire division.
Right. Exactly. So, but other than that, yes, I think
killing was a bit much. Just killed everybody off in the NFC South.
You were letting
but I think
dark.
that's what would have to happen for the Panthers to win over 5 games.
I agree with taking the under. I don't know about the boulder. Let me sleep on that one. I'll give you an opinion on it next week. Make sure you tune in. Just like and subscribe to the channel. I definitely think it's an under. I think they can improve off last year. God help them. They better. Can they win 3 games? Let us know, chat. So the problem for the Panthers, jokes aside, seriously, this is, you kind of mentioned it when you were talking about it. No, you said no head coach can go in there and be like, hey, guys, I'll just stop you right there. Yeah, you're right. No head coach can go in there because the owner, David Tepper, is the worst owner in the league. This is quickly.
Isn't he the one that threw the drink at the fan or something?
Yeah, that's correct. And,
piece of junk.
He's the one that was having the weekly meetings and wanting to, have a say in how the offense is being called.
Look,
and all
we
this
give
stuff.
Jerry Jones a really bad rap on this show, but nothing competes with Tepper.
Say what you will about Dallas and their issues. Jerry, though, overall is a good owner. Yeah, and they're very profitable, and they're a brand. Like, Jerry is very smart. He knows
he's a micromanager. That's the biggest gripe about that. But Tepper is just he's just a jerk. And
he's a jerk, and he's clueless. He is genuinely clueless. He thinks he can get in there and micromanage like he's done in other walks of life that have made him successful. It doesn't work in football. You need an owner to stay all the way. The reason Dave Canales got this job, and I'm not knocking Dave Canales, I actually like him, is because no one else wanted it. They couldn't go and hire Bobby Slowick. They couldn't go hire a really talented offensive coordinator. They had to go get someone that basically, Dave Canales, if he hadn't gotten this job, there's no guarantee he would have ever got offered a head coaching job. Okay?
Right.
So for him, it's like, well, I got to take this opportunity because I might never have one. That's the only reason they got a head coach, because the owner is so bad. He is going to continue to meddle. He's going to continue to create issues. It's becoming a Washington situation like we had with Dan Snyder. So I think any coach is doomed. When you look at the players, Bryce Young, hey, you're wearing it on your shirt. When the draft happened, me and you said, you're crazy if you take Bryce Young. CJ Stroud should be the number 1 pick. A quarterback that small cannot be successful in the National Football League. I understand the offensive line didn't do him any favors. I understand they let him down last year. They did actually improve the guard, the center, both guard positions and the center. It's all an improvement. I don't think it matters. I don't think Bryce Young can be successful in the league. I think this is under all the way. Maybe they win 4 games. It's going to be a long season.
Yeah, and they got Deontay Johnson in there, which doesn't. I'm not jumping up and down about that either.
It's better than DJ Chark, though.
The question I have for you, though, of course. The question I have for you, Bryce Young. Okay, I just want to touch on this real quick. I know you and I both said CJ Stroud should be the number 1 overall draft pick, and it seems like we were right about that, and with most everybody else in the sports media. But do you think Bryce Young has more potential than what we saw last season? Like, can he be better than this? Because he had it shook out real bad for him. Like, it was the worst situation you could possibly go into for any rookie quarterback.
Yes. Bryce Young is a talented football player. We saw him put on the cape at Alabama and be a great quarterback.
Canales will get more out of him than anybody else has, for sure.
100%. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Bryce Young will play better, I think. I just ultimately think it doesn't matter. I don't know how different it would look if you brought Andy Reid in there. I mean, it would probably look pretty good because Andy Reid's won with literally every quarterback. He could take me and you off the street and win games with us at quarterback. He'd be like, hey, guys, hand the ball off. So I just think he's too small, man. He's too small. He looks small. I know he's tough and he's semi-capable, but it wasn't all the offensive line last year. I just don't have a lot of faith. And I think even if there was a situation where he could have succeeded in the league, when you get drafted and get thrown into that, it really can derail your entire career. We've seen it. We were talking earlier. We saw it with Sam Darnold. He got put in that Jets situation. It derailed his career, and goodbye. That's what happened to Geno Smith till it got revitalized. I feel bad for Bryce Young, but I don't think there's going to be a renaissance of him. I hope so, but I'm not expecting it.
You said Andy Reid would just say hand the ball off, but like, who do you hand the ball to here? Like, are you excited about Miles Sanders or Chuba Hubbard? Like, are you really excited about those guys?
No, Chuba Hubbard?
Chuba? Well, I don't care what it is. It's
Chuba.
He's not going to be chugging along, I promise you that.
Won't be any Chubas after these Carolina games, I'll promise you that much.
This team is going to be, it's going to be rough to watch, man. Like, I don't know what it's going to, this team is 2 to 3 seasons out from being in contention of winning this division at all. Like,
2 to
That's 3 easy.
Take away the quarterback thing and whatever. Like, it's the roster is not excellent. It's not as bad as some people act, but it's not good.
Yeah, and then I know we haven't really touched on the defense that much, but like it doesn't look great either.
It does not.
Like who was it? Dane Jackson, right? Yeah. So Dane Jackson, safety Jordan Fuller.
Jordan Fuller replaced Von Bell.
J.C. Horn, he's been injured a lot.
That's a good addition, though. I like that.
Yeah, but he's been injured a lot.
I know. They brought in Ashawn Robinson at D tackle. That's good. Brought in DJ Wanham. That's good. Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, but in replacement of Brian Burns, okay, so what? It's just, there's nothing really that excites you with the Carolina Panthers. There's nothing that excites you at all. And with the owner situation and the unknown coach and the really small quarterback, how could you have any faith? Maybe they win 4 games, but that's probably the ceiling.
Over under 2.5. Tepper throwing water on fans this year.
Got to go under 2.5. I think he'll be more aware that the cameras are on him.
Fair enough. Tristan, let's talk about New Orleans. They open up at 7.5 after going 9-8 last season. I know you don't have a lot of faith in Derek Carr. Do you think that he can get it done this year? Do you think he could take them over?
I think he could take them over. I'm really conflicted on this one. Genuinely. Every ounce of my being and soul wants to hammer the under because I think the offensive line is going to be so atrocious. But somehow, and I don't like Dennis Allen. I think he's one of the worst coaches in the league. I really, is there a more boring coach than Dennis Allen? Seriously, if you had a franchise and they're like, guys, we hired Dennis Allen, that's what you would hear. Good defensive guy. Seriously, good defensive guy. But the Saints don't have a lot of good pieces. The offensive line genuinely might end up being the worst in the league. We'll see if Carr and Olave and Shaheed can survive it. I think they'll manage. I kind of want to lean over just because they won 9 games last year, and I don't feel like they're significantly worse. Maybe a little worse, but I don't know.
So we're the big step up here. So they finished 10th overall in defense last year, but they also added Chase Young and Willie Gay this year. So your defense it has to be better. If you're going to pay Chase Young this type of money,
I don't think it does have to be better. I think that was a mistake to pay Chase Young.
Well, they paid him $13 million. Okay, so on a 1-year deal. So I think think Chase Young added to this team with Willie Gay. That is a plus in the positive side, right? It has to be a little bit better.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm as certain about that as you are.
If they finish 10th overall on defense, you may finish 9th now. It's at least 1 point up for me, at least. But I think with that, I had them. I was thinking under here like you, but I do think going over here is probably, with 9 wins last year, they've done some improvements in the offseason, like I said, on defense at least, and I think that gets them at least 8 wins, right? I'm going to sadly agree with you. I am going over just because it seems like they win 8-9 games each year. And that's kind of what they're doing in the Dennis Allen era. I thought they would be a lot better last year and they burned me. So I really want to go under and say they're going to be terrible, but somehow they find a way to win more games than they should. Derek Carr, you said I don't like him. I actually, I think he's fine. He's below average, but
I don't expect him to do much with this offensive line. It's going to be terrible. I think he's going to be trying to survive.
In the mock draft that we've done like 5 of them, and Chris Olave has gone pretty high up. I think this receiving core is about to take a step forward that most people probably won't be expecting, but I think Olave and Shaheed are going to be Shaheed's going to be a rising star this year. He was a little bit last year, but even more so in 2024. I think Chris Olave is really going to open up this year. I think he's going to be a breakout player and do a lot more than we've seen him do in the last, season or two that he's been in the league.
Well, you're wrong because he's not going to have the ball. The quarterback's not going to have time to throw him the ball. The offense is going to be abysmal. I think Olave is very, very good. I think he's going to look about how he's looked every year and, wish he was on a better team because he's excellent. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't have a ton of analysis because I just don't know what to expect for the Saints. I feel like they should be horrible. Somehow they're going to find a way not to be, and they're going to keep kicking the can down the road because that salary cap void year crap that they're doing, the bill is coming due, and it's probably going to come due next year because they keep just kicking the can down the road. Eventually, they just have to bite the bullet. Next year is probably the year to do it, but somehow they'll find a way to win 8 games and be ultimately irrelevant.
Tristan, I like to be an optimist, and I like to see the silver lining in everything, so I think he's going to be a lot better than most people think. I think he's a breakout player this year.
Well, he's great.
And you can't change my mind unless he starts doing bad, and then I'll probably change my answer.
That's a good idea. Change your mind then.
This episode never happened. But anyway.
We'll erase it, yeah.
Well, that's the NFC South, and that's actually a wrap on all of our over-under predictions for the NFC and AFC. It's been fun. This is always the time of year when we finish this last one, which was the Saints, unfortunately, but when we finish this last prediction, I know the dial is turning. NFL's coming. We are on the precipice of the NFL season.
It should be a great season, too. Give me your ranking for the NFC. How is it? How you got it ranked? Or the NFC South. NFC South.
The NFC South. So I have Atlanta winning the division.
Me too.
Have them going over. You have them going under.
Under, but they still win the division, yeah.
Then I have, I'm going to go
New Orleans?
I'm going to go New Orleans here because I have them winning 8 games and I have Tampa Bay winning 7. So
okay.
I'm going to go New Orleans second and have them going over Tampa Bay third. 7.5, I have them going under their predicted 7.5 wins. And then, unfortunately, Carolina, guys, I don't see you going more than 3 wins. You open up at 5.5, I have you going under there as well.
So we have strong disagreements about Atlanta, about how good the team will ultimately be, but we do have the division kind of ranked the same when it comes down to it.
All right, guys, that's it. That's the show today. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support, and thank you for tuning in to each over-under win total prediction we've done this year. Tristan, it's been so fun. I can't wait to come in next week and give the big predictions that we really like to give, including the Super Bowl and MVP.
That's right. We go through every team. We do the over-under, but we give ourselves an out because whatever we've said in any of these episodes, we can change it next week when we give our official playoff bracket, our official Super Bowl predictions. I still don't know which way I'm going, but I can't wait to do it. Thank you all for listening to the show. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it, because we are going to be here bluffing our way through the NFL season every single week, every step of the way. That's Ryan. I'm Tristan. We'll see you guys next week. It's here. It's finally upon us. Next week, we're going to start previewing week 1. See you guys then. Have a safe week. Goodbye.